We're continuing to build up to the end, so what's next? Hey everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with season 2, episode 21 of Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. And yeah, I'm unsure how this is gonna go because we've only got a few episodes left. And I'm unsure of like how build up is gonna work here because they're clearly at this point I don't know if they're gonna build up like a final villain or if they're just gonna introduce something at the last minute. It's kind of starting to feel like it's going to be the latter, and it's probably because of the show being canceled. Like, they probably had plans for more seasons than this. And so for it to be canceled, they had to kind of wrap it up and kind of, I guess, basically pick and choose what they could do for what's going to be aired. This probably wasn't originally meant to be like the finale of the series, so it sucks, but I mean, what can we really do? I don't know what to expect. I don't know what's coming. Like I said, I haven't heard any spoilers. I've been saying this for episodes now. Haven't heard any spoilers about what's coming in the future. So at this point, it's just a matter of I just hope it ends well. So let's get going and see what we have in today's episode. Hold up just a sec. Before you click that link down in the description below to get to today's video, I want to remind you of all the awesome content we have both on this channel and the Princess of Gaming channel. Let's check it out. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Yeah, I didn't like this episode. I think that was pretty, like, obvious from the fact that I started getting, like, kind of quiet and not saying much. Like, there's a couple occasions in a reaction where I'll be, like, really quiet like that. One, if I'm really angry at something. If I get, like, really angry at something that happens in it, it's not necessarily a problem with the movie or show or whatnot, but when whatever is happening, like, the content is something that would make me angry, like abuse or something. Or the second time that I tend to get really quiet is when I just don't have anything to say because I'm not enjoying something. And sometimes when I'm not enjoying something, I'll have a lot to say, but this is one of those occasions where it's the opposite, where I'm not enjoying it and I just don't have much to say. I feel like a lot of it is just because of the same reasons I didn't enjoy the episode where these sidekick animals were in there in the first place. Devil cannot hold his own episode. Devil is a good support character. He works really well working off of the likes of Lunella and other various characters, but mostly Lunella. But Devil cannot be the main character of an episode because it just doesn't work. He's not interesting enough. The problem is Devil is a very one-note type of character. And I don't mean that as an insult. I mean, Devil's a great character, but he is one note. He's a very basic character who's not meant to be anything beyond that. His character traits are very shallow. His, like, ability to, hold your attention just doesn't really exist in my eyes. Unless he's working off of, like, Lunella. But when he becomes the main character of an episode, it's like, because he doesn't speak, and the only time you know what he's saying is when Lunella translates for him. And because his personality is so simplistic, because he's just not, he doesn't have that much depth to him, it doesn't keep your attention. It's not fun to watch. It's not interesting. It's not exciting. It's honestly boring. And then on top of it, like, you also have the fact that this episode is built on, like, kind of a silly premise. Like, okay, Devil never had a birthday before. And that's worth basing an entire episode around. Not to mention having this excessively overblown reaction from everyone regarding this. The newscaster, like, making this their top priority. All the animal friends who are watching this this news report and everything being, like, so shocked by this. It's like, it's not that big a thing. It's like, I understand, like, wanting to celebrate with a friend who's maybe never celebrated that before. And I understand said friend becoming kind of, like, obsessed with, like, something they've never been able to celebrate before. The ideas aren't completely out of, like, the question. They're not, like, bad ideas. They just don't work for holding together an entire episode. They would work as a B plot. But then you gotta muddy the episode as well by throwing in this entire clone plot that is entirely ridiculous and not in a good way, in my opinion. Again, I want to make that clear. Everything I'm saying here is my subjective opinion. But it's like the clone plot was, like, entirely unnecessary, completely, like, a waste of time. It didn't add anything. Also, Lunella not figuring out right away that that's what was going on, especially since Devil changed after eating the hot dog cake. Lunella should have figured that out instantly. She literally had this cloning technology on the mind because she mentioned it previously. She should have instantly thought of that. For her to not know what's going on, to actually think Devil would be doing something like that, is almost kind of out of character for her. Like, don't get me wrong, Lunella has shown some naivety at points, and has shown that she's a very emotional person and that sometimes can override her thoughts. But again, it was on her mind. She had just been talking about it. She would have thought of that instantly. And it's just, it just feels off that she didn't. The fact that she actually didn't even think about it until she saw the two devils, like, just doesn't make sense to me from her character perspective. The animal sidekick characters, just as unenjoyable as ever. I don't like them. I don't think they're good characters. I don't think they're entertaining. I don't think they're fun. The voice acting's fine. I'm not going to say anything against the voice actors, but I don't like the characters. Honestly, if anything, I find them annoying. I just think that they're, like, lazy characters. It's like they were put in there for Devil to have other animal sidekicks to connect to, but there was no effort into making them interesting characters in any way. I feel like it would have made more sense to have Devil connect with, like, a human character at this point. Hell, having, like, a Devil and Casey episode would have been better. But instead you created them, and now you're bringing them back, and it's just like, who asked for this? And don't get me wrong, kids watching this will find entertainment here. Kids watching this will find a lot to enjoy because they're kids. And maybe even some adults watching this will enjoy it. That's fine. But I personally can't. And I don't see the appeal in it at all. And while I will always stand up for your right to enjoy whatever you enjoy, and I'm not going to judge you for that. Doesn't mean I have to understand or agree. I can have my own opinions too. I thought this was a bad episode. It was predicated on something that was overblown and ridiculously handled. It just contained like stupidly over the top shenanigans that should have never happened, or definitely not gone as far as they did. And honestly, the entire like trying to do too much at once and so you clone yourself thing has been done before. It's in fucking My Little Pony. And the episode that does that, Too Many Pinkie Pies, is a good episode. It's actually a well done example of that. And yeah, it basically has the same lesson in the end too. So it's like this has not only been done before, but better. And I'm not just saying that because My Little Pony and everything. I'm not just saying that because of some idea that I like My Little Pony better or anything. Because actually, in a lot of ways, I don't. I actually like this show better in a lot of ways. I don't remember exactly where I placed them both on that ranking list I made. But yeah, it's like I feel like the My Little Pony episode, Too Many Pinkie Pies, just showcases how to handle this without it feeling out of place or too far. It feels like it's more naturally done, like the conflict makes more sense for the characters. The cloning situation comes about in a much more believable way. Especially because it's kind of an accident at first. And it's just, it feels so forced here. And on top of that, for this to be one of the final episodes in the show, I know that this was canceled, and I know that I know that a lot of this is probably due to the cancellation and having to just pick and choose episodes and rush out an ending and everything. But it's like this. There was another episode, like a couple episodes ago or something, that I also said felt like a season 1 episode, and this is another case of that. This feels like an episode that would only work in season 1. But the problem is, it's also predicated on the fact that, although this could easily be changed, it's not that big a deal. It's predicated on the fact that, like, the entire family knows who Lunella is and knows about Devil being, like, part of the family and everything. I mean, obviously, you have to have the animal sidekicks in there, but, like, you could have at least done it earlier in the season. It just doesn't feel like it should be happening at this point. But again, the problem is it kind of has to with everything that's happened. It has to happen after the family knows. So it's like, it's kind of trapped itself into a situation where this doesn't work at this point in the show, but it literally can't work earlier. And it's just like, that kind of makes it worse for me. Because it's like, it just can't work at any other point in the show due to certain prerequisites having to be reached. But it also doesn't work at this point in the show because it's the kind of episode that only works in, like, the first season of a series like this. Along with the episode that first introduced these animal sidekicks and everything, this is definitely amongst my least favorite of the entire series. I just find it to be a bad episode on so many levels. And it's just, I really, really hope the last 3 episodes are going to be better, because I really don't want another like weaker episode like this at this point. We have 3 episodes to go. We need to I really want this to end off strong. And again, I understand it was canceled. I understand Disney's more at fault than anyone here. But it's like, I really, really hope that we can get this fixed, basically. That we can end off on a really good note, on a really satisfying note. That doesn't it wouldn't ruin the show as a whole, but a bad ending can still be, bad and still make a show less enjoyable. I mean, look at Steven Universe and Star Versus for me. I hated how those two shows ended, and especially in the case of Star Versus, it really did hurt my ability to enjoy even the best parts of that show again. Because all I could ever think about is how terribly it ended and how it just butchered the story and characters. We've had so many shows canceled by Disney. And luckily, the Ghost and Molly McGee, Owl House, they've ended on really good notes. They've ended in the best ways possible, considering they had to rush an ending, considering things had to be wrapped up really quickly. At least shows like this have been able to do that. Have been able to rectify things and make them enjoyable to close out the series. I really hope this is another like that. I don't want a series that just fizzles out into obscurity because it ends on a poor note. And especially a series like this that has done so many great things, that has had so many important and awesome moments. And something I've noticed as well, that I just thought about? Is it just me, or has the series, specifically in the later half of this season especially, kind of shied away from the themes and messages that made this series so great in the first place? The themes and messages surrounding the culture and the Lower East Side and everything. There are a lot of themes regarding the characters' races and their with Casey, with her being Jewish and everything. And outside of the family themes and everything, which I mean you can get in pretty much any series, a lot of the theming for this show has kind of just fizzled out. And I've noticed that with the second half of the season, but kind of season 2 in a lot of ways. It started off great with some excellent themes on things like trauma and whatnot. But then as it went along, it just kind of started focusing more on the more generic themes and less on the more interesting, emotional, powerful, and important themes. It's the themes about family and stuff are obviously important. But it's I wonder if the show was, if Disney was giving the show flack and the creators flack for all of those themes that they were putting in, and maybe is one of the reasons why they got canceled. And maybe it's part of why it seemed to have died down on those themes. I wouldn't put it past Disney to do something like that. Because we all know why Owl House was canceled. We know. And so I would be I would 100% believe that. But I mean, we don't have any like evidence to support it unless like someone in the crew says something. All we can like say now is that it was canceled. The themes and messages that were super prevalent in season 1 and even at the beginning of season 2 have kind of fizzled out. And that we're getting what is very clearly not the most well handled closure to this series so far. And I know this series is more episodic than something like Owl House, so I didn't expect this big grand thing to like go into this full story thing by the end. But I expected like maybe a little bit more build up to things at this point. And I was hoping for these last episodes to feel like bigger and more important. It just feels like they're not when you have episodes like this. But maybe that's just me. It's funny. I stopped having a lot to talk about during the reaction. I ended up finding myself very quiet. And during these afterthoughts, I've had quite a lot to discuss regarding this episode and just where this series has kind of gone lately. Like, I really, really hope that this ends on a good note and that these next 3 episodes are really good. Because I really don't want this to peter out. It's too good of a show at its base level. It's too good of a show, like, when it's at its peak. And it doesn't deserve that. I mean, it didn't deserve to get canceled in the first place, but, you know, fuck Disney. So, yeah, nothing more I can say or do about it. So, tell me in the comments below what you thought of this episode of Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur Season 2. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.